it is your favorite brother, it is your favorite cousin, it is your favorite uncle, it is your best friend's best friend. It's me, Dr. Larry. Welcome to Living for You. Today is kind of like a very special episode of Living for You, if I would say that. So today works more like an open letter to a brother of mine, a fellow YouTuber of mine, who I admire quite a bit, who I think is a very smart, brilliantly talented young man. Recently, as I was strolling through YouTube, as I typically have done, I came across a video by YouTuber Jontavian Barber. And if you don't know him, he's fairly popular on YouTube, I think also on Instagram. He's been around for a while. But I caught him probably about 2 years ago now in his previous relationship, or a previous relationship. And I kind of just thought that they were like so cool and they were so open, being themselves, because you rarely get a chance to see African American males so genuinely express themselves, aside from what the media portrayed us to be. But in this particular video, John denounced his, well, he didn't really denounce it, but he kind of said he was no longer gay. And that's actually a common trend that I have seen quite often, is that sexuality becomes this announcement. I've seen it often where people come and say, I'm not gay anymore. The whole video with Andrew Caldwell that went viral, he wasn't gay anymore, and he found God and something changed in him, and it was a change. And so this particular video really is a letter directly to John. First of all, I want to say that two things. One, this ain't for clout. I'm not a fame chaser. What I'm doing is to help my brothers, those who are like me. If you haven't heard of me, my name is Dr. Larry. I am a life coach, but I'm also a spiritual coach. I'm an ordained minister. I'm also a doctorate of religious studies, and I actually, my PhD is in comparative religious studies. So I've studied religions all over the world. Even in my own life, being raised in the Christian tradition, I know the Bible and Christianity in and out. And so I don't care about the clout. I don't care about none of that. What we do here at Living for You, and what I do in my life coaching practice, is I try to help brothers like you, John, brothers like me, between the ages of 18 to 40, who have dealt with some kind of trauma, or who are just dealing with really life, and they're needing to be more present to get there. The goal is to get present. We all want to be present. So that's what I'm here for. So I saw an opportunity, because it's a classic example that I see often in my practice, of sexuality, identity, those things. I see that quite a bit. I also, the second thing, want to say this too. It takes a lot of courage to not just come out the closet, but it takes a lot of courage to go back to denounce, or to not, I hate to say denounce, but to no longer practice the sexual preference that you've publicly practiced. So you're a very brave young man, my brother. You are very brave. You are very bold. I've watched you, like I said, for 2 years, and I've seen that you do express yourself out loud. And so that's a good thing. You're brave. And I guess I'll add a third thing. The third thing isn't to really be concerned about your sexual orientation, sexual preference, not to convince you to stay gay if you don't want to be gay. None of that. This is not what this is about. In fact, the truth be told, there are all kinds of studies. In fact, the latest study by the American Psychiatric Association says gender is more fluid. In a study of college men and women around your age, they found that some 51% of men have found that they had some type of attraction for the same sex, whether it's just an attraction, whether it's a sexual attraction, just an attraction. And it actually found that 84% of women felt the same way about women. And so it's not unusual that sexuality is something that is defined, not as easily defined. It never really has been. socially and social constructs created define sexuality, that if you're a man, you must be with a woman, and if you're a woman, you must be with a man, and anything outside of that is either wrong, sinful, not good. But the truth is, it's deeper than that. It's way deeper than that. We have no explanation of how it exists. You can look at nature, but that's still not a comparison of the complicated dynamics of human sexuality. Animal sexuality and human sexuality only carry similarities in that we're all sexual. But other than that, the complexities between the human mind and our thought process and our emotions and our ability to create our emotions and create our world complicates sexuality. So like I said, I'm not trying to get you to stay who people feel you should be. I feel like you have your choice. Why limit yourself? Be who you feel you are, and wherever you are comfortable at this moment, be those things. So I think it's very important for us to just kind of, from a life coaching perspective, discuss things. I recall from your video that you said when you were younger, you had a carefree mentality. You were very expressive and somewhat feminine, but not feminine, but feminine. And I want to make it clear that you have to understand that having feminine traits isn't a negative thing. Having feminine qualities, as far as things that we attribute to the feminine, aren't negative. In fact, a healthy person finds a way to balance both the masculine and feminine energies that they have. And so in order for us to be sound, healthy, well-reasonable, well-balanced people, we don't fall into the category of trying to live up to society's norm of what's feminine and masculine. So if you had these characteristics, there was nothing wrong with you. Now, if people made fun of you and people said things about you having certain feminine things, I know you mentioned that people would ask you, are you gay? And almost kind of impose that on you in some way. If that's the case, that's not your fault. That's their problem. That's their issue, that they don't know how to correctly understand that feminine and masculine energy exists in all of us to varying degrees and should be harnessed by all of us to be fully functioning, healthy, holistic humans. But I don't want you to get caught up in the idea that being overtly masculine or displaying masculinity makes you any more of a man than someone who carries themselves or even dress themselves in a feminine manner. So that's very important. And these things that I'm, even though, like I said, it's kind of an open letter to John, I want it to be where we're all here at the table getting what we need from this discussion. There's also other things that I noticed. I noticed you mentioned you grew up in the hood. Me too. Yeah, I grew up in the hood. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I guess I polished up well. But I promise you that, that's some of the best training to life that I have. And everybody who knows me know that I carry it with me and I wear it well. So as do you, John. But I know that you mentioned that. And you mentioned the idea that it wasn't negative in the hood, and you're absolutely right. Because what happens in our neighborhoods is sometimes there is a overexertion of some of these social norms, so much so to the fact that it becomes dangerous in our minds of anything that doesn't fit into the social categories that we've created. So we kind of shoo them out, or we kind of dangerously treat them. And being a gay male, or being an effeminate male, or being a trans person, it's dangerous because you don't fit into the norms. And we, so hard as black men, try to fight up to these social norms that were created for us, not necessarily created by us, and definitely not what we had in us prior to us taking that voyage across the Atlantic during the transatlantic slave trade. So it is a dangerous thing to be openly gay, feminine, trans, or anything in our neighborhoods that we refer to as the hood, simply because of the transphobia, the homophobia, the phobias that simply means fear of things that we don't fully understand or have a grapple of. I akin it to the fear of God. Though we believe in fear of God means being scared of God. And the fear begins to kind of permeate our actions. So it's the same, it's kind of a similar thing. You mentioned something about submission. and the idea of seeing men's role in a relationship as different as a woman's role, and being able to get along with women better because you didn't feel what I heard, and maybe I'm wrong, but what I heard, the challenge, the challenge of masculinity, that, you're another man. And so if you come at me a certain way, I'm going to meet that challenge with greater force. Kind of this kind of warrior mentality that we are encouraged to have as men. But what I think is important to gather here is the idea that if you're balancing both the masculine and the feminine energies, you'll realize that at different times, different energies are stronger. And it's not necessarily with different genders, or with you being with the female being a little more, able to respect her softness, and then being with the male able to respect, not able to respect his aggression. It has to be something within you that needs to be turned on and turned off at any situation. So it's not necessarily about feminine or masculine energy. It's really about problem solving and conflict resolution, and how to do it healthy across the board, whether it's with a male or a female. How do I resolve my conflicts? How do I express my anger, my hurt, my sadness, or whatever in a healthy way that's not volatile to anyone that I'm coming in contact with? That's the most important part. So it does play this issue into masculinity, what masculinity looks like, but at the end of the day, when it really is just an issue of you being able to resolve problems healthily across the board. You also mentioned this relationship thing. Like I keep hearing that relationships don't work. Relationships don't work. And that perfect couple idea, and these ideas of because my relationships don't work, that could have been the reason why. And I don't want you to describe your relationship issues, who you are, as to why you're defining part of why you're defining what you are. We all go through trauma, and relationships can be trauma, no matter who you're with. If you come in contact with a woman and it's just not a healthy relationship, are you just going to go asexual? Are you just not going to have sex? Or if it's a relationship with a man that's too pervasive and too deep and it has an issue, are you just not going to have any trust for any man in a relationship? Once again, that goes back to what I was saying before. Having to be able to have a healthy relationship is what the key is. So how healthy is your relationship? How healthy is what you're doing? And how do you see yourself being what you need to do in that particular relationship to make it healthy? So was it really a relationship issue, or was it really relationship issues that you had, or was there issues with maintaining a healthy relationship? And some of the questions I ask myself, even in my own relationship, is why doesn't the relationship go well? What am I bringing in thought, and what am I bringing in character to the relationship that might impact the relationship in a certain way as well too? That is actually very important for you to consider your contribution, and not necessarily the relationship itself, because it could be far more than just a relationship. What is your contribution to that relationship, and what is not working, and start looking at those things. So I think that those are very important. I also think that it was actually good for you to realize that moving too fast in relationships wasn't healthy. That's a good thing, because you already know that perhaps that was a dilemma that you had, that you would jump into a relationship before and it wasn't ready, you weren't ready, you hadn't processed the previous, and you brought some baggage. So like I said, I'm listening, and I hear that you have the tools. You know what needs to do and what needs to work. You are perfectly capable of doing what you need to do, and I get that. But I do hear relationship trauma that is impacting this decision partly. Maybe I'm wrong, but I hear it. I've also saw that you mentioned that because you allow homosexuality into your spirit, that you are now prone to having homosexual thoughts. Like you might see a guy that's attractive, and you might think he's attractive, and that's okay, because that is just what happens, and all of that stuff. And I think that that's important to highlight, because here's the thing. I think that you have to realize that sexuality and sexual attraction are things that happen, and that doesn't make you bad or wrong. Don't feel guilty about it. Don't let any of that be something that's impacting you negative, but just realize that is okay to have those things. But and just like you have a choice of where you lie on the sexuality spectrum, and if you feel like it's more gravitated to women, then who's to shame you? Who's to criticize you for making that decision? And I think that's very, 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 very important. And so, like I said, I hear a lot of things. I hear from a coach's perspective a need to really define your identity. And I hear that you take pride in identifying your identity. You said something to the nature of you feel the exact same way when you came out. There's an excitement, there is a happiness that you found it. So what I hear is that you're kind of finding it still. I mean, you're 20, no shade, 20 is old enough to know right and wrong. But I can tell from my own personal experience and a lot of people I work with and a lot of people I know that we don't gather ourselves until a little bit later than that. And that's okay. That's called growing. That's called getting wiser. I mean, you're entitled to do that. We all do it. And so the point is that, you know, you're finding your identity and you take joy in being able to define who you are. I see it. I saw it, I heard it. You take great joy in defining yourself. And that's a good thing, John. That's a good thing. And so, like I said, those are the things that I would say. I would say continue to find your identity. I would say don't assume, don't allow negative relationships impact decisions due to relationship trauma. Deal with the relationship trauma. Learn the tools needed to make any relationship, whether it's gay or straight, successful. I would also say that you don't have to explain yourself to nobody. You don't have to express to nobody what you do, who you do, how you do it, because it's ultimately your decision in your life, and you have a right to choose whatever. So those people who are naysayers and say, oh, he can't change his sexuality, those people who are saying that, nah, that's not possible, those people in their ignorance are just as ignorant as people who say gay is bad. Those are people who are just as ignorant as saying gay is wrong or sinful, right? Because we know that sexuality is fluid, as studies are continually coming out to prove these ideas. So love yourself, come into awareness, be who you are, show up as you desire to show up, and if it makes you happy, stick with it. If it don't, change it. That is your preference, your choice, your life. I once again commend you for taking the step to come out again. Most people come out once and that's enough, but you came out twice, right? So I commend you for doing that. I wish you peace and blessings. I'm a big brother to the world, apparently. So you can reach out to me. You can reach out to me directly at drlarry at live4ucoaching.com. We can communicate, keep up. If you want to talk about some stuff, if you want to get some stuff, I'll never judge who you are, how you are, what you believe, because I'll allow you to come to your own answers for yourself. That's what a life coach do. So I just wanted to reach out because the video touched me. I've watched you for at least a couple of years, and I was always impressed at your openness. I was always impressed at your talent, and I saw that you were a light, and I want you to continue to be that light for the thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who watch you all the time, because you are an influencer, whether or not you want to, you know it or not. So that's why I did this video. I wish you the best, blessings. I hold a space of great positivity for you. I see a great future for you, and I want you to continue to fight the fight of self-identification and manifesting that in the world. So, John, I wish you well on your journey. I wish you well on your path. I wish you career success. Nothing but blessings from me, nothing but support and love from me, brother to brother. You got this. To my family who follow me all the time, and to those who are new, who are just listening to this message for the sake of what the message is, I hope you got something in there. The reason why, like I said, this isn't a typical video of mine. My heart felt obligated to reach out to my little brother and to just encourage him, and to not allow the naysayers, to not allow those who are encouraging him for ulterior motives, to just to reach out to him. And so hopefully there was something there for you. If you're there and you're struggling or not struggling with your sexuality, at the end of the day, identify yourself for who you are. Love and appreciate yourself for who you are. There is only one of you on this planet, which means that you are valuable. Because anytime there's a limited supply, the demand is high. And the truth is, there's a limited supply of you because there's just one. And so there's a high demand for you, brother. There's a high demand for you, son. There's a high demand for you, nephew and cousin. There's a high demand for you, friend. You are very important. And so it is so important for us as black men to step up and identify who we are. And when someone is brave enough to express who they are and brave enough to step up, it is up to us to come together, rally around them, and continue to encourage them to love whoever they are, whether it's right now or forever. You know, rally around them and support one another. We're in this together. I am my brother's keeper, and so are you. And so hopefully we all go spam John Tavia's page with love and support and say, brother, you know what? I get it. I understand. I went through it. I love you. And we do what we need to do to make sure that that brother continues to feel love, not just for any other reason other than we share the same DNA, we share the same skin, we share the same melanin, we are connected, we are brothers. So I hope y'all got some from this. I was encouraged to do it. Like I said, my heart was moved to do it, and I hope that it has an impact on as many people. Remember, you can continue getting the information that you need from us at www.live4ucaoching.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Dr. Larry Smith. You can follow me on Facebook at Dr. Larry Smith. Remember to subscribe, like, and comment on the videos. Hit the notification bell so that you know what's going on. And I think that's pretty much about it. 2 times a week, that's what we do here, Living for You. I'm Dr. Larry. I love all of you. Let's keep this movement going.